if you're a man over 60 and you've accepted waking up 2, 3, even 4 times a night to urinate as just a normal part of getting older, I need you to listen to me very carefully. That is not your fate. It is a warning sign your body is sending you, and most men are misinterpreting it completely. This nightly disruption is not harmless. It steals your deep sleep, erodes your energy, and quietly fuels a cycle of prostate inflammation that makes everything worse. The culprit behind this isn't just a number on a birthday card. It's a single, common, everyday habit that millions of men do without a second thought. This one behavior directly triggers silent inflammation, encouraging your prostate to grow and causing those frustrating symptoms like urgency, weak stream, and broken sleep. My name is Dr. Katherine Rotker. I am a geriatrician and a men's health doctor. And for over 20 years, my entire practice has been dedicated to the health and vitality of men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. I have helped thousands of men solve prostate issues, reclaim their sleep, and restore their confidence without immediately jumping to medications or surgery. I see the same story every day, and it has very little to do with age. In the next few minutes, I will reveal exactly what this number one worst habit is. I will explain precisely why it's so damaging to your prostate health, and most importantly, I will give you a clear, natural strategy to stop it, starting today. If you're serious about taking control of your health and solving this problem for good, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification. We create this content specifically for savvy men like you who are looking for real answers. And to help me understand if this message is landing, let me know in the comments below. If you're tired of the broken sleep and are ready for a solution, type number 1. If you haven't experienced this yet, type number 0. Now, let's get right to it. Let's talk about a habit that feels so right but can quietly cause so much wrong for your prostate and bladder, enjoying a big, heavy meal right before turning in for the night. I'll be the first to admit, there's something deeply satisfying about a large dinner. It can feel like a reward at the end of a long day, a time to relax and enjoy good food. But for men dealing with prostate concerns, this common ritual can directly fuel those frustrating symptoms of urgency, dribbling, and multiple nighttime bathroom trips. The issue isn't just the meal itself, but the significant physiological chain reaction it sets off right when your body needs to wind down. Here's what happens. When you consume a large, heavy meal, especially one rich in protein, fat, and salt, your digestive system has to kick into high gear to process it all. This requires a massive increase in blood flow to your stomach and intestines. To meet this demand, your body temporarily shunts blood away from other regions, including your pelvic area. For an older adult, this is a real problem because blood flow to the bladder and prostate is already naturally reduced. This creates a low-oxygen environment that promotes silent, local inflammation, irritating your prostate and bladder lining. Making matters worse, eating late suppresses your body's natural release of a crucial hormone called ADH. This hormone's job is to tell your kidneys to produce less urine at night. With less ADH, your kidneys keep making urine at a daytime pace, filling your bladder much faster while you're trying to sleep. You might go to bed feeling fine, only to be jolted awake just a few hours later with an urgent, non-negotiable need to go, and then again a few hours after that, completely fracturing your sleep cycle. So what does this look like in daily life? You finish a large dinner at 8 o'clock and are in bed by 10. By midnight, you're up. Then again at 2:30. And maybe once more before your alarm goes off. You start your day feeling exhausted, not rested, and the constant fatigue can make every other health challenge feel more difficult. Here is my straightforward advice. The single most effective change you can make is to create a firm buffer zone between your last meal and your bedtime. Aim for a minimum of 3 to 4 hours. This gives your body ample time to complete the bulk of its digestive work before you lie down. Keep your evening meal on the lighter side, focusing more on vegetables, whole grains like quinoa or brown rice, and lean proteins like fish or chicken, while going easier on heavy red meats, fried foods, and very salty dishes. I also tell my patients to treat caffeine and alcohol as strictly afternoon-only beverages if prostate symptoms are a concern, and to shift the majority of your daily fluid intake to the morning and early afternoon. If you have any swelling in your ankles, try elevating your feet for about 30 to 60 minutes in the late afternoon. This helps your body process that extra fluid well before bedtime. I know this sounds like a sacrifice, and changing a lifelong habit around food is tough. The good news is you don't have to be perfect. Think of it not as giving up your evening meal, but simply rescheduling it a bit earlier and making it a little lighter. The payoff is huge. Many of my patients who make this adjustment report noticing a difference in just about 10 days. They experience fewer nighttime trips, a stronger urine stream, and finally wake up feeling genuinely refreshed. That trade-off is worth it. Start by simply noting what time you finish eating tonight and how you sleep. Try moving your dinner time up by just 30 minutes for a few days and see if you notice a change. Keep a simple log of your nighttime bathroom trips. Seeing that number go down is powerful motivation. And while this habit is a major trigger, there's another incredibly common daily behavior that disrupts your hormonal balance even more directly, one you're probably engaging in without a second thought. One of the most frequent things I hear from my male patients is a statement they make with a sense of pride. A gentleman in his 70s will sit in my office and tell me, "Doc, I've really cut back on my fluids, especially in the evening. I'm hardly drinking anything, so I don't have to get up at night." This seems like such a logical, straightforward solution, and I always acknowledge the smart intention behind it. You're trying to solve the problem, and that makes perfect sense. But I have to gently explain that this well-meaning strategy is actually backfiring and making your symptoms worse. It creates a frustrating paradox where you're drinking less to urinate less, but you end up feeling the urge to go even more. The intuitive logic is simple. Less fluid in should mean less urine out. But your body's physiology works in a more complex way. When you restrict your fluids, your urine becomes highly concentrated. Think of it like a strong chemical solution. It's darker, more acidic, and far more irritating to the sensitive lining of your bladder. This irritated bladder then becomes inflamed and hypersensitive. It starts sending urgent, empty now signals to your brain, even when it's only half full. For a man with an already sensitive or enlarged prostate, this is a double whammy. That inflamed, overactive bladder is now pushing against the prostate with more pressure and urgency, dramatically worsening those feelings of needing to go immediately, the dribbling, and yes, those nighttime trips. Over time, this constant irritation can train your bladder to become overactive, making the problem a persistent cycle. You might recognize this pattern. You consciously drink very little all afternoon and evening. You go to bed feeling like you've succeeded, but then you wake up a few hours later with a surprisingly strong, urgent need to urinate. The volume might not be huge, but the urge is overpowering. Chronic, low-level dehydration prevents your body from effectively flushing out metabolic toxins and waste products. This allows them to concentrate in your tissues, promoting systemic inflammation and swelling, which can directly aggravate prostate inflammation and slow down the body's natural healing processes. Proper hydration is not just about urine output. It's a fundamental pillar for reducing inflammation throughout your entire body. Your goal should be consistent, steady hydration throughout the day, not restriction. I want you to focus on drinking most of your fluids between breakfast and mid-afternoon. A great, practical biomarker is the color of your urine. Aim for a light, pale straw color. If it's dark yellow, your urine is too concentrated. If you're concerned about nighttime trips, you can begin to taper your fluid intake about 90 minutes before bed. but you should never stop drinking water entirely. A small sip to quench thirst is perfectly fine. We need to reframe how we see water. It isn't the enemy causing your problems. It's actually your most important ally in calming bladder irritation and reducing overall inflammation. So if cutting back on water is clearly the wrong approach, it makes you wonder what other well-intentioned habits might be fueling the fire. Could the everyday foods and drinks you consume to stay healthy actually be making your prostate more acidic and inflamed? I remember a patient, Mr. Daniels, a vibrant 68-year-old who loved to stay active. He came to me frustrated by a sudden increase in urgency and frequent, uncomfortable nighttime trips to the bathroom. When we went through his diet, he mentioned starting every single day with a large glass of fresh orange juice and eating a big salad with tomatoes for lunch, and he loved adding hot sauce to his evening meals. These are all healthy choices on the surface, but for his sensitive system, they were adding fuel to the fire. This highlights a key principle I share with my patients. Think of food not just as calories, but as information. Every bite sends biochemical signals to your body, instructing it to either calm inflammation or, in some cases, ramp it up. For men with prostate concerns, highly acidic foods can send the wrong kind of message. When you eat things like oranges, grapefruit, tomato sauce, salsa, or spicy peppers, your body absorbs their acidic compounds. Your kidneys eventually filter these acids out and excrete them into your urine. This process makes your urine more acidic. For most people, this isn't an issue, but if you have a sensitive or enlarged prostate, that acidic urine acts like a constant irritant. Every time you urinate, it's like passing a mild acid over the already delicate lining of your urethra and bladder. This irritation triggers a local inflammatory response. Your body sends in immune cells to deal with the perceived damage, and they release chemicals that cause swelling and tenderness in the confined space of your pelvis. This inflammation directly aggravates the prostate, squeezing the urethra tighter and worsening every single symptom: urgency, a weak stream, dribbling, and those exhausting nighttime trips. The harm is subtle and cumulative. It's not one glass of juice that causes the problem. It's the daily habit that gradually turns up the volume on inflammation and discomfort. The good news is that making a few practical swaps can bring significant relief. You don't need to eliminate these foods entirely, just become more mindful of them. I advised Mr. Daniels to start by keeping a simple food and symptom diary for a week. He quickly saw the connection. His first step was swapping his morning orange juice for a smoothie made with banana, blueberries, and almond milk. For snacks, he chose an apple with peanut butter instead of something with tomato salsa. At dinner, he used fresh herbs like basil and oregano for flavor instead of hot sauce. He also made a point to enjoy any tomato-based meals earlier in the day, not right before bed. Within about 2 weeks, Mr. Daniels reported a noticeable difference. The constant urgency had calmed down, and his nighttime trips were cut in half. He was sleeping through the night again and felt back in control. The goal here is progress, not perfection. Be mindful of eating out of habit versus making intentional choices. Pay attention to how your body feels after certain meals. This approach is about learning which foods make you feel your best. Even if you perfect your diet, however, there's another incredibly common daily behavior that most men completely ignore, one that acts like a slow-motion earthquake for prostate health, steadily disrupting its delicate balance. I completely understand the many reasons this happens. Life gets busy, energy levels change, or you might simply feel it's not a priority anymore. Perhaps you believe it's a sign of conserving your vitality or that it doesn't really matter for your health. I hear these rationalizations all the time, and I approach this topic with zero judgment, only a desire to share important physiological information. What many men don't realize is that consistently ignoring the body's natural urge for release can transition from a personal choice into a factor that actively contributes to prostate congestion and irritation. The prostate gland produces a significant portion of seminal fluid, and regular ejaculation helps to clear out this fluid along with any accumulated compounds within the ducts. When release is infrequent, the gland and its associated structures can become engorged and stretched beyond their normal comfortable capacity. Think of it like a small, delicate sponge that is repeatedly filled but rarely squeezed out. This chronic state of fullness creates a low-grade pressure and weight in the pelvic region. For a prostate that may already be less resilient, this persistent pressure acts as a direct irritant to its delicate tissues. The resulting congestion can worsen inflammation, contribute to a feeling of heaviness or discomfort, and exacerbate those familiar symptoms of urinary urgency, a weaker stream, and a sense of incomplete emptying. This situation also creates a secondary risk. The discomfort itself can make the idea of ejaculation less appealing, inadvertently creating a vicious cycle where less activity leads to more congestion, which in turn leads to even less activity. I recall a patient, a wonderfully kind man in his early 70s, named Walter. He was an avid gardener, but came to me feeling defeated by a constant, nagging sense of pelvic pressure and increasingly frequent urination that was interrupting his beloved time in his garden. He was hesitant to bring it up, but when we gently discussed the frequency of sexual activity with his partner, it had been months. He had written it off as just another part of life. He had to accept losing. I explained this mechanism of congestion to him and encouraged him to try for a more regular pattern, even through masturbation if partnered sex was not an option, emphasizing that this was a medical recommendation for prostate drainage. He was admittedly skeptical, but agreed to try. At his follow-up appointment weeks later, he was a changed man. The constant pressure had significantly eased. He proudly reported he was back to spending full afternoons in his garden without constant interruptions for bathroom breaks. The relief was not just physical, but emotional. He felt he had regained a sense of normalcy and control. The clear prescription here is to listen to your body's signals and aim for a regular pattern of release. There's no universally magic number, but a good rule of thumb for prostate health is to aim for the equivalent of about 2 to 3 times a week. This isn't about performance, but maintenance. This, as a simple act of bodily upkeep, much like stretching or staying hydrated, can remove the psychological pressure. Making this a consistent practice can help maintain healthier prostate function, reduce that feeling of congestion, and support better urinary flow over the long term. And while this habit is crucial, the next one we need to discuss is perhaps even more physically destructive because it's something you're likely doing for hours every single day, and it directly affects circulation and inflammation in the most sensitive area. I had a patient, Douglas, a brilliant 72-year-old retired engineer, who loved to spend his mornings reading and his afternoons working on intricate model ships at his desk. He came to me not because of his hobbies, but because of a worsening problem with urinary urgency and a constant, dull ache in his pelvis that was most noticeable when he tried to stand up after a long sitting session. He thought his comfortable chair was his refuge, but it was quietly working against him. This is a common belief. We see sitting as restful, a well-deserved break. But for prostate health, prolonged, uninterrupted sitting creates a perfect storm of problems by placing constant, low-level pressure on your entire pelvic region. When you sit for hours, your body weight presses down on your prostate and bladder. This sustained pressure significantly reduces healthy blood flow to these vital tissues. Think of it like gently stepping on a garden hose. The flow of water slows to a trickle. With reduced blood flow, the prostate gets less oxygen and fewer nutrients, while metabolic waste products start to build up. This stagnant environment is a primary trigger for local inflammation and tissue swelling. For a prostate that may already be enlarged, this additional inflammation squeezes the urethra even tighter, directly leading to increased urinary urgency, a weaker stream, and that feeling of pelvic discomfort or heaviness Douglas described. The harm is insidious because it happens gradually. You don't feel the circulation slowing down minute by minute. So the slow creep of symptoms often gets blamed solely on age. Movement is not exercise, but an essential medicine for prostate health. Movement is circulation. Set a timer for every 20 to 30 minutes. When it goes off, simply stand up. That's it. You don't need to do jumping jacks. Just stand for 30 seconds, take a few steps to the kitchen, walk to a window, or gently shift your weight. These micro breaks are powerful because they instantly release the pelvic pressure, allowing fresh, oxygen-rich blood to flood back into the area and flush out inflammatory waste products. For Douglas, this was a revelation. He started using the timer on his stove. After just a few weeks of consistent micro breaks, he reported a dramatic reduction in his pelvic discomfort. His urgency lessened, and he felt more comfortable during his long sessions at the workbench. Your prostate's health depends on steady circulation, and the simplest way to maintain it is to break up long sits with frequent, brief moments of standing. This single change can reduce pelvic pressure and inflammation, helping to ease those frustrating urinary symptoms. Habit number 1 is one I see with heartbreaking frequency in my clinic, and it often comes as a complete surprise to the men affected: the regular use of sedative-type medications. One of my patients, a 75-year-old lovely gentleman named Arthur, who had been taking a prescription sleep aid for over a decade. During a checkup, he mentioned his prostate symptoms were getting much worse, especially the constant nighttime trips. He looked at me with genuine confusion and said, "But doc, I take my pill to sleep through the night. I don't understand why I'm up so much." He had no idea that the very medication he relied on for rest was a significant contributor to his problem. Many common sedatives, including certain sleep aids, anti-anxiety medications, and even some over-the-counter allergy or cold remedies, do more than just calm your brain. They can depress your entire nervous system, including the autonomic functions that regulate blood flow. This means these medications can inadvertently reduce circulation to peripheral tissues, like the prostate gland. A prostate with already diminished blood flow receives even less oxygen and fewer vital nutrients, making it much more vulnerable to inflammation and less capable of daily repair. Furthermore, while these medications might help you fall asleep, they often severely disrupt the architecture of sleep itself. They can blunt the deep, restorative stages of sleep where crucial tissue repair and immune system regulation occur. So night after night, the prostate is both starved of adequate blood flow and denied the optimal conditions for healing, leaving it in a perpetually weakened, inflamed state. This creates a particular vulnerability for older men whose bodies process medications differently and whose prostate tissue is naturally more susceptible to stress. The most important step you can take is to know what medications you are taking and have an open conversation with your doctor. Review every single prescription and over-the-counter product you use regularly. It is absolutely crucial that you never stop these medications abruptly, as this can lead to severe withdrawal effects. Any change must be a supervised, gradual tapering process managed by your doctor. Simultaneously, explore non-pharmacological approaches as primary tools. For sleep, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, is dramatically more effective and safer long-term than medication. For anxiety, mindfulness practices, and therapy can offer sustainable relief. For allergies, second-generation antihistamines are often a better choice. For Arthur, this was a turning point. He was hesitant, but agreed to work on a very slow, tapering schedule while simultaneously beginning CBTI techniques. Within a few weeks of reducing his dosage, he reported a noticeable improvement. His nighttime trips decreased from 4 to 2, and he felt his sleep was actually more refreshing. He was waking up feeling more rested because his body was finally able to cycle through the proper sleep stages. Quitting or reducing these medications is difficult. I won't pretend otherwise, but it is perhaps one of the greatest gifts you can give your prostate, your heart, and your overall health. It requires patience and medical supervision, but the payoff for your quality of life is immense. So, where does all these leave us? Let's be very clear. If you've been struggling with your prostate health, feeling frustrated by broken sleep and a loss of control, I need you to understand something fundamental. You are not broken. You have simply been uninformed. That frustration, that worry, even that embarrassment, it's what every single man in my clinic feels before we start working together. But knowledge is your power. Understanding these everyday habits gives you the ability to act, to take back control of your health and your nights. You do not need a radical overhaul of your life. Lasting improvement in your prostate health comes from small, consistent, and intentional steps. It starts with awareness. It grows by listening to your body and treating yourself with the care and urgency you deserve. Do not try to fix all 6 habits at once. That leads to overwhelm. I want you to look at that list and choose just one single habit you feel confident you can start addressing today. Maybe it's moving your dinner time an hour earlier. Perhaps it's setting a timer to stand up every 30 minutes. Or maybe it's committing to drinking a glass of water with each meal. Focus on that one thing. Celebrate that progress. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Your prostate is responsive to care at any stage, and it is never too late to make a change that makes you feel better. If this video was helpful, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this is important content for men over 60. And if you know a friend, a brother, or a loved one who is silently struggling with these same issues, share this video with them. Let's build a community of men who are informed and empowered. Finally, leave me a comment below. Let me know which one of these 6 habits resonates most with you. Which one will you tackle first? You've made it this far because you care about taking action. Let's move forward together. With this knowledge and a few small steps, better prostate health, restful sleep, and feeling like yourself again are absolutely within your reach.